Welcome back to the channel, guys, as I'm here back in Halifax to conclude the final episode of the Halifax and Ovenden Junction Railway. In the last episode we covered the section from Ovenden Station, which is just behind me. We're going to continue our route up towards Holmfield. So back that way is Ovenden Station, which I covered in part 5. So if you haven't seen that episode, I'll leave a link in the description below, because we found some quite interesting features within the station building. So the route of the railway just beyond Ovenden Station would have carried on through this bridge, which looks like it was the 16th bridge or big piece of masonry on the line. That says Department for Transport, Halifax High Level Ovenden, I'm guessing, and it was bridge number 16. So this bridge is what carries Old Lane back towards Lee Bank and Old Lane Tunnel, which are two other episodes that I covered on the Old Lane Tunnel in part 3 and part 4. So just down here is where the cutting just beyond the station would have carried on towards Holmfield, running along Ovenden Beck. So I'm now on that bridge that carried Old Lane across the line just beyond Ovenden Station. Now it is on private land, and I have been given permission to come on here and have a little scope around the bridge and then walk along the section of line to see what lies ahead. So this is underneath the bridge where Old Lane passed over the line just beyond the Ovenden Station. Now it looks like these are, well, they look like old railway sleepers that have built a boundary between the owners of the Ovenden Station and the land beyond. But here we have the base of the bridge underneath. There's an old piece of metal here, and I wonder if that was part of something like a cabling anchor or something like that, but it is really rusted away. And here's just a look at the bridge from underneath. You can see it was built out of stone, and we have a section of brick just similar to the one that was down beyond Lee Bank Tunnel, if you remember that one in part 4. And here we have the sign again, so that's Department for Transport, and I think again Halifax High Level, Ovenden, and bridge number 16. So that's the bridge looking back towards Ovenden Station. Again we've got Old Lane that goes into a cutting, well it's kind of a cutting, which runs alongside the Ovenden Beck. Now these guardrails are original, because there is a picture taken just over there which I'm going to show you soon, looking that way. So these are original gates. Obviously we've got the track bed here, which is overgrown, and you can see here the blast in the rocks. Now I did mention this in the last episode, but this section of the railway was only intended for one track, but then eventually they decided to double it up, going back, that's going back towards Halifax, and this is the section towards Holmfield. Now I've just headed back slightly off the track bed, and there is a photograph of a diesel train. Now if you take note of the wall in the background and the iron railings I mentioned, so I'm going to fade this photograph in now. So here's a view of the Ovenden Beck, which looks like it leads underneath a culvert just down here. Now back onto our track bed here. Now I've had a little scope down here, and a lot of the track bed is now overgrown, so I'm going to walk and show you as much as I can get in here. Now to the left you've got Shea Lane, that goes towards Holmfield. Now you have got houses on the side just up there, and here's a retaining wall that supports the side wall. Now I've got to be careful because there is a little drop down here. Looks like an old drainage channel which stops about here. Now majority of this section is just overgrown with veg, and like I say, I'm going to walk as far as I possibly can. So you've got the retaining wall, just on the left here, a tree growing on the inside, and this is back onto our track bed. Now it looks like any evidence of a railway would disappear here, but we've still got more retaining wall on the left there. Slight partial collapses here. Again, that's looking back towards Ovenden. And then here's another view of the beck, and it looks like another culvert. Remember, that beck channels all the way down towards Leebank Mill. If you remember in part 4 when I showed you the beck. Now on the maps it does show where the beck runs underneath the line. Now to the left of me here we do have some blocks, some stone blocks. Now there is nothing on the maps that show that there were anything here, but I do wonder if it was some kind of maybe a plate layer's foot or something. A little venture up here. Now it looks like there was something here. I don't know what those are. The breeze blocks? Please leave a comment if you do know. Unless there was some kind of bridge that crossed over here, but it doesn't say anything on the maps. So we are slightly along the track bed, and it looks like to the left here we've potentially got the remains of a signal post. Now the beck had a slight curve that came around and went under here, you can see on the map, and then here you can see the drainage culvert, and then the beck now runs to the left of the line, whereas for majority of it was to the right. Now it is interesting here because if you notice that the beck runs to the left of me here, you do remember I did say that the track was 2 tracks, but here you can see it looks like it's kind of been, it looks a little bit narrow, so it doesn't look like 2 trains would have headed down here. So what I'm wondering is if the track went slightly further this way and has been filled in a little bit. Now the majority of this section going towards Holmfield just looks like this, and we are coming up to a section where it looks like we can't go any further. There's a lot of tree falls. As you can see here. So I've headed northwards. If you just take a look down there, you can see the track bed which I was walking along. It would have ended here at this bridge. So we're just at the side of Roy House, so we have the remains of a bridge here. Now it's been slightly obviously demolished. You can see the coping stones, and a railway bridge would have ran at a lower level here. So the line would have run at a low level just here, carrying on towards Holmfield station. Now it looks like an industrial estate, so we won't be able to go on there. Now I believe there is another bridge on the other side. Now part of the railway bridge looks like it was made of iron. Clearly see it's rusted, but the trains would have run right under here. Now I think this was a support, so this was your main part of the bridge here. You can just see the alignment of the track bed going down. It looks like a cut in here, running alongside the Ovenden Beck. So I'm currently on Share Lane, and the railway would have run right behind here. You see where all those storage carts are over there, where those trees are. The railway would have run right behind here towards the bridge. So just beyond that bridge that I showed you, where the Ovenden Beck was, this would have been our track bed. That would have gone under another bridge. Now you can see here it's been filled in. So right here you can just see the top of the bridge there. Here are the remains of the top. So it looks like you'd have been in a cutting, and those carts there are where the railway would have been. And you can just see where these buses are here, that the railway would have run under the bridge and then gone this way and then carried on towards Holmfield station. So currently back onto Share Lane, and I'm walking to the site of Holmfield station. Now to the right of me here, just about where this building is, according to the early 20th century map, there used to be a mill called Share Lane Mill, but it says disused. So if it says disused back on the maps, then I'm guessing it opened quite early in the 1800s and then was closed by the early 20th century. So I've just been given permission by another business just to come and document where some of the railway line went. Now there isn't much to document, but you can just see here that there's a retaining wall. So our trains would have literally been bombing through these buildings here. And you can just see here the retaining wall. And the railway would have come back, that's back towards Ovenden. And this is towards Holmfield. Now there are quite a few industrial units and businesses which look quite inaccessible. Now we are still on Share Lane, and we're coming up to a point where two railways met. So to the left of me, you're going to see an abutment which carried a bridge onto the Halifax High Level Railway that went down towards Pelham. So you can just see here that bridge. Now the Halifax High Level Railway will have curved in just here. Now I'm guessing obviously it would have been at a higher level on an embankment going down towards Holmfield station. Now there was a junction somewhere between the lines, just in the middle of that industrial estate. So just down here would have been the site of the Holmfield Junction. So I'm going to walk in. Now I'm going to ask permission first to go and show you the location of where the junction split off between the two lines. So I've been given permission on Station Road to come onto the site, and I won't tell you what the industrial unit is, but they've allowed me to come on and show you exactly where the split of the junction between Ovenden and the Halifax High Level Railway was. So I believe just where I'm stood right now, here is where the split down towards, that would have been going down towards Halifax, and right here would have been the curve and the split junction off towards Pelham.
If you take note of the blue dot at the corner of Station Road, that's my current location on Google Maps. Now, to prove that this was the site of the Holmfield Junction, I'm going to show you the same picture if you take note of the white building that's just behind me. So if you have a look at the side-by-side map viewer here, you can just see the same building. So what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to scroll across onto the old OS map, and you can clearly see that the junction split off from the current location.
So we are approaching the site of Holmfield Station. This would have been our terminus of the Halifax and Ovenden Junction line. Now, a lot of the station is now built on by industrial units, but I've been given permission to go on the site and just have a little look around to see if I can pinpoint what was where. So just down there, that would have been roughly about where the station buildings were located. Now, as you can see, a lot of it is industrial units. So I'm on the site of Holmfield Station. Now, I've been given permission by the company Colour Ribbons to just go behind the back of their building and show you what's left of the bridge that headed towards Strine's Cutting. Now, the Holmfield Station was the terminus. Well, it was actually the start of the Ovenden Junction railway before heading off to the junction. Now, this bridge that's just here, which I'm going to spin the camera around and show you, this would have been the bridge that headed through a cutting towards the Strine's Cutting that headed towards the Queensbury Tunnel south portal. Now, as you can see, it's all filled in, and this fence obviously marks the boundary. You can just see here it's a stone bridge abutments, and it's got an iron bridge running along the top, and that carries Holdsworth Road from Shea Lane. Now, I do want to cover that Strine's Cutting at some point. I believe there's not much left. It's all industrial that heads towards the southern portal of the tunnel, so we're going to leave that for another time. We just head down the side of the Colour Ribbons building. We were roughly approaching the site of where the station buildings used to be located. Now, you can see there's a lot of businesses. Now, there is a car park just here. You can just see this would have been the site of the station. Now, you can't really see the bridge, but the bridge is behind the building, so there is a photograph taken from somewhere just around here, which I'm going to try my best to match up. It might not be spot on, but I'm going to see if I can fade it in. Now, if you just take note of this photograph, it was just around here where the station platform was located. You can see the bridge in the background just behind the building. Now, you can't quite make it out, but this is where I've just walked down, and it looks like there was a siding that ran along the side of here. Now, this station opened on the 14th of October 1878, opened by the Halifax Ovenden Junction Railway, the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, and the Great Northern Railway. It closed to passengers on the 23rd of May 1955, along with all the other stations, and then it closed completely on the 22nd of June in 1960. It had 3 station platforms, which were located just around here somewhere, heading towards that bridge. Now, 2 days after the station closed, the Black 5 number 45339 locomotive of Newton Heath Shed in Manchester was sent up to collect the remaining wagons and it was about to clear the sidings at the eastern end. So just at the site of the Thornton Breakers, so this would have been where part of the Holmfield station was located. And to the left, there were sidings that ran in just north of the Holmfield Junction, and it was used for unloading coal. Now there was a goods shed that was marked on the maps. I found no photographs, but the maps will show that there was a goods shed, and it was used for loading coal. So our railway would have continued right through this building here. So we're on the site of Thornton Breakers, and it's now used for stripping down 4x4 trucks, as you can just see. But the railway ran right through towards where the Colour River was, and towards the main station, and then towards that bridge. And just here is that bridge. And the final thing I want to show you is something interesting. You can just see here, this was the original entry into the station and the original arch to Holmfield station. So there would have been some stairs that went right through here. You can just see the change where they've bricked up the main station access, going down onto the platforms just down there. So you would have had stairs going down there. Potential remainder just here, and then slightly to the north, this would have been the start of the cutting going towards the Queensbury Tunnel South Portal. You can just see there's a cutting. Now I want to cover that on a future railway video. So that does conclude the series on the Halifax and Ovenden Junction Railway. I would like to thank every landowner from Eureka all the way up towards Holmfield that have let me onto their sites and explore the history on the railway. Now if you did like those series, please check back part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 and part 5. Please like, please subscribe to the channel. Please share the videos, as I do a lot of disused railway rediscovering. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.